Before we get into this episode, quick disclaimer. We are not historians, religious scholars, archaeologists, or anthropologists. We are just two people following a curiosity trail that started with Jujutsu Kaisen and somehow led us into mythology, ancient religions, calendars, tattoos, indigenous traditions, colonialism, and One Piece. So please do not treat this episode as a formal history lesson because it is not. We are going to talk about Hinduism, Buddhism, Japanese traditions, Southeast Asian stories, Egyptian mythology, Mayan civilizations, indigenous traditions, and other ancient belief systems. We are doing this with curiosity and respect, not to prove that one religion is superior, older, purer, or more correct than another. When we point out similarities between cultures, we are not always claiming that direct connection, trade, or influence. Sometimes stories travel, sometimes people migrate, sometimes cultures influence each other, and sometimes humans in completely different parts of the world create similar ideas because they are all trying to understand the same things like nature, death, family, community, fear, gratitude, time, and survival. Also, many traditions we mention are living traditions for real communities today. We may simplify things while talking conversationally, and if we get anything wrong, we are very open to learning and correcting ourselves. This episode is not about ranking religions. It is about asking why humans everywhere made gods, stories, rituals, calendars, and sacred spaces, and what it means that we still carry some of them with us. This is the Madala Mindset. Every week, we talk about life, friendship, and work, and everything we're still trying to figure out. Let's get into it. Our recent obsession, Jujutsu Kaisen. I want to talk about that.
Yay! Let's talk about Gojo. It's very important.
Oh, so Jujutsu Kaisen. And of course, the person, not person. I don't know what is Gojo. He's a character. Gojo is a phenomenon. Gojo is the best.
That show was made for women to talk about Gojo, especially.
Yes, Gojo and Nanami. Yeah, yeah, totally. No, man. I kind of I don't miss it when it's not airing or something, but when I'm watching it, it's on my mind. It's that kind of a show for me. Yeah. And so when I was watching it, the recent season, the season 3 recently, I was just wondering if they just made up all the concepts of Jujutsu Kaisen out of the blue, or if they were referencing anything in real life, you know?
It's so detailed, no? Especially the new season.
Yeah.
It feels like I don't know, maybe because as we said last time, maybe because the manga had the story more well built
Mm,
compared to the show. The show is very picked up on the things that are like hypes and elevations and things like that only.
yeah.
So it is not that sequential.
It's not. And it basically sometimes feels like KGF, but 1,000 times better. But
It's
yeah.
not in grays. It is in my
Yeah.
boy's color, blue eyes. No, but the point is, it's so much more detailed, like the presentation oriented and everything. It begs to question, is this like one person who has thought of all of this?
I know, right? How did all of this come out of just one author? Like,
Yeah.
does he have a team of people sitting and brainstorming all these things? Because you cannot just make up the concept of the entire world of Jujutsu Kaisen just by yourself, right? But again, authors do that somehow.
Yeah.
Kudos
The
to them.
brilliance of JJK is not only the storyline, the artwork, music, sound, actors, voice actors, everything is so on point of that show.
Yeah,
It's
it's so
like it gives out
detailed.
the cool vibe automatically.
It does. Even the costume design is so
Yes.
deliberate. Like, people wear the same uniform in different ways, and it's just so nice that it's not like how should I say? It's not bland. You know,
Yeah.
it's very tick tick tack tack. I like
Yes,
it.
that. It is
Yeah.
that. We have all like made up this new creature in our head. At least I have the combination of Gojo with Sukuna's voice, with Nanami's style, with Megumi's swag. All of these things are just mixed up in my head at this point. The multitudes of JJK, man.
Yeah. But I guess when I was watching, I also had this question of again, where does all of this, is all of this imagination or is
Mm,
there something that's behind it? And
true.
turns out there is
Mm.
some connection to Japanese ancient culture that JJK built upon. So apparently in Japanese like old time culture, the cursed spirits were a thing, but they were more like metaphorical. Like we have ghosts and I don't know, souls and all that stuff in India. And the JJK built upon that. JJK said the cursed spirit is something physical now that is built up from the feelings that are not positive of human beings, and it extended the version of it, but it was already there.
JJK works with the idea that cursed spirit is nothing but your traumas. And
Mm,
it works a lot on the idea of reincarnations,
yeah,
rebirths and transfusions and soul incarnations and things like that. And also the ideas of if you had a bad experience and you have a cursed spirit that is along with you, what do you choose to do with it? Do you
right.
choose to help people with it, or would you like world dominance? Which is always option two for some reason. But it is always, yes, let's do world dominance with it.
Right. And I wonder, well, was it always that way? Like, were human beings always like this? Because I feel like back then, when they were talking about ghost spirits back in the day, thousands of years ago, they were maybe talking about things they could not explain, or
Mm,
like forces of nature that were beyond them. So they needed something to rely on
mm,
and to differentiate good and bad. Like it's like, um, how should I put it? If you do this thing, like if you steal from someone, then in the afterlife you will be punished. So it's like
mm,
that morality, accountability that you're putting by making up some philosophical stuff around it.
mm. It's more like if a person dies with unrest
Yeah,
in his heart of doing something that there is no balance, then they will be stuck in the same realm. So they
right.
will be coming back as a cursed spirit. And the idea that it is not only a Japanese thing.
It is
uh,
not.
yeah,
It feels very familiar to me.
yeah. Like all of our exorcism concepts comes out from the fact that we talk about giving it the freedom or accepting what
Mm,
it has done or giving it the peace that it didn't receive in its lifetime or something like that, giving the soul the peace that it did. I mean, we still have priests who come to your house for exorcisms. We still have
mm,
churches that say that if you have a cross, there won't be any bad spirits in your house. We still
yeah.
have black magic everywhere that we talk about.
Yes.
So it's very present. It's not like it is a Patakalapu
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Right, right. So it's present. It's something that's been ongoing.
Yeah.
It's something that's still very present and very ongoing. At least for us, I mean, the India is a very religious country, and they take all of these things very seriously. Out in the East these days, there's a lot of people who are saying that they have no religion at all. So it's not like they're atheist exactly. It's just that they believe in something, but they don't know what that something is. It's like,
This word that you brought up, atheist.
yeah,
In our Vedas, it's defined as such a simpler term that
uh-huh.
I don't know why they changed the entire meaning right now. Atheist is just somebody who doesn't follow the Vedas. That
Oh,
is not somebody who doesn't believe in the supreme God or not somebody who doesn't believe that there is one God and all of that. That is a completely different definition that we have right now. It's just somebody who doesn't follow Vedas for their day to day. And then you have somebody who follows the Vedas for the day to day. That is it. That is the origin of the word, Nastik and Astik. And that is where the word has been brought up from. over time, the translation of the word has changed so much right now that it is considered as people who are against a phenomena instead of just somebody who has a different lifestyle choice.
It is, isn't it? It's like a community of people now.
Yeah,
And they have to fight against the world for not believing. And it's not like there's not extremists on either side, okay?
correct,
People are in the people who believe in God community, there are extreme people who are like, oh my God, how can you not believe in God? And on the
correct.
other side of people who are atheists, they are also like, how can you believe in God? Why are you believing in God? You should not be believing in God. It's like people cannot just let each other be and just be like, bro,
No,
you
but
do your thing. And that reminds me of, again, Jujutsu Kaisen, because Jujutsu Kaisen is also full of all these otherworldly things, the
true.
curse spirits and all of that. And um, I wonder if it's connected to their religions, that they used to believe in or believe in right now, like Buddhism,
Mm,
or they had something called Shinto, right?
correct.
And I'm just curious if they were connected to it, the
Right.
co-spirits and all of that, or is it like just an off topic completely, which is
No, but see, in if you're coming back to JJK, in JJK itself, when they do domain expansions, where they talk about infinities and everything like that, and limitless domain and things like that, they have certain hand symbols that they follow, which are
mm,
completely inspired by Buddhist hand symbols, where each of
mm,
these symbols represent one form of Buddha.
right,
But the idea of curse spirits is not part of Buddhism. It's part of their local traditions. So
right,
that is, it's not like Buddhism was enforced onto them to give up their previous ideas or previous thoughts, but
mm-hmm.
they adapted it. They adapted Buddhism and this together, and JJK is one of their understandings of it. It's not that it is an anime and just an idea of one person. It's in their traditions, part of their traditions where they celebrate both of them together.
Oh,
Like
okay,
Mexico has the celebration of death, their festival
uh-huh,
of death, where they're talking
mm-hmm.
about spirits and the bridge to the other world and all of that.
Right,
It's part of their everyday thing, every tribe's thing, kind of Japanese culture.
that's interesting. And by forms of Buddha, that reminds me of the thing that we came across when we were doing our research. They were named Indra, Yama,
Yeah.
and very Indian
I know,
Hindu names. I thought you were Buddhism.
right? I mean, each of those hand signs were related, or mudras that they called it, which is
Mm.
exactly the same word for us. Each of the same hand signs were represented to a certain form of Buddha, and each of these forms of Buddha is known as Indra and Yama and Maitreya, and both of us were like, we have heard these names very personally, like our day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just makes me wonder how connected are all of us, or how connected were we back then when all of this was, I guess, going on. The Advent, I don't, Hinduism never really was a religion that I could say like it was spread across,
Mm.
but Buddhism, when it originated in India and then it moved outwards because of Emperor Ashoka and everyone else, the Buddhist, what are they called? I don't know. People.
We never changed.
Yeah. So I am just wondering, like, how did they carry the elements of Hinduism when they were spreading Buddhism? Like, I always thought Buddhism was this branch off that Gautam Buddha was the main person, and that's it.
Mm.
That's all I thought. I mean, I was very unaware of it, but as I read about these things, I'm just confused, honestly. Like, how
Mm.
much of the culture mix has also spread out, rather other than just the concept of Buddha.
You know, when we talk about Hinduism spreading out,
Mm.
the question arises here is, did people go around preaching Hinduism, or was it the folklores that reached multiple places?
I
Uh,
think it's the folklores
right,
in a way.
right. By that I mean exactly like You remember I told you about the experience where I landed into an international airport and
Mm,
I saw Samudra Manthan, ocean churning taking
right.
place. Where I saw in Bangkok's airport, they have the entire placement of the serpent and the deities and the asuras on either side, with the
Mm,
serpent trying to churn the ocean. And
mm-hmm.
before Amrut came up, the first thing that comes up is poison. And
Yeah.
our amazing man, amazing God, sorry, Shiva takes in this poison to save the world and stores it in his throat to ensure that the world is not poisoned off.
Yeah,
And the next thing that comes up is Amrut. So this story is very rooted for us in our childhood,
it is.
because the tortoise itself is a Vishnumurti avatar that
Right,
depicts
yeah.
balance.
Mm,
And because it is that rooted for our stories, I didn't expect to see that in Bangkok.
exactly. How? What?
Yeah,
What? How do you know? Why do you
exactly.
know?
And when we visited Bali, right, and
Mm,
the prime touristy spots of Bali are all Vishnumurtis and Garudas and Ravana, and they had an entire proceedings there of Ramayana where they had multiple statues of each part of Ramayana. Like you could see Ravana's brothers, Hanuman, and each of them, again, you can immediately identify them as Hanuman. This is what Hanuman is. But they're nothing like the ones that we have in our temples. They have
oh,
their own look, they have their own fiercity to them. They're
uh-huh.
very wild, extremely wild at the way they look. And they have processions every year to celebrate these things. They have places for these processions. I mean, Indonesia right now is a dominant Muslim country. Bangkok
It
is a
is.
dominant Buddhist country.
Yeah,
But when you walk in, there are so many similar stories.
there are. And apparently, Hinduism reached Indonesia and that whole archipelago in the first century,
Right.
right? And we had no idea.
Yeah. So it was not like a conquering thing, right?
It's not, yeah.
Yeah, so it was nobody who was conquering it. You know, when I was researching about these ideas, what I found similar in all of the ideas across in about
Mm,
everything we are going to talk about in these episodes is the fact that every religion that is known to be ancient, the rooting religion or the
mm.
lost religions or whatever, all of them have this concept called animism that is by core.
Oh, what's
And
that?
animism is just you being thankful to your ecosystem.
Okay.
You celebrating the great cosmos is the idea that they all have. They're just thankful to exist. They're thankful to the rain. They're thankful to the nature. They're thankful to land. And they celebrate it in various different ways.
Mm,
So in Asia,
mm.
and the concept of Hinduism being primary at that point, it just translated across because all of them had similar ideologies at that time. Multiple tribes were sharing the same ideas. They were all thinking about let's dance and celebrate the rain. Let's not be scared of it.
Oh. Yeah, we have so many festivals that celebrate the seasons, right?
Right.
Because we have Basant Panchami, which is basically oncoming of spring, and then we have Sankranti, which is the crop cutting season,
Correct.
and and even Diwali is like welcoming the cold,
Correct.
sort of like onset of winter kind of
Right.
festival, and it's so nice, not nice. What's the word for it? It's so, uh,
Rooting.
yeah, I'm so happy
Yeah.
knowing that humans, although we were all thousands of miles apart, had similar things going on. Like even Indonesia is, let's say, Hinduism had spread to it, so they had the similar concepts that we have in Hinduism. But if we go like a little further from us, and there's Africa.
Mm.
And in Africa, there's Egypt and their religion, where they used to pray the sun god Ra. And they also had these similar concepts of reincarnation and life keeps flowing and all of that stuff. And I wonder how humans came up with same Different versions of similar things.
I don't think it's coming up with it. So I believe in the fact that for longest time period that we didn't record things in,
Hmm.
and the only recorded thing that sustained across was the Vedas. Uh, and that is why we still consider Hinduism to be the most ancient religion because Vedas have recorded it. But
Uh-huh.
the religions that were not, see, I think we have to step back and first understand the term religion in
Mm.
most cases and unlearn what it means right now by saying it's just a group of people practicing something.
Yes.
So that at that point, when you look at it like that, as just a culture or a religion
Hmm.
where a group of people are united on a certain idea,
Right.
when nobody is thinking about money,
Uh-huh.
then everybody is thinking about collective living.
Yeah. They're
So,
just thinking about how do we live with the nature and how do
yes,
we be grateful for, what we have and what we get, because everything we are getting is not something we are producing. It's a byproduct.
correct.
Plants are because we planted, but the earth was generous enough to give us those plants.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was more about gratitude.
yes. Why? Ipudu, when we talk about Ramayana as a story itself, as an epic,
Mm.
the reason it is considered to be the most consumed epic in the
Mm.
world is
Mm.
because it has various forms across every country. Because
Yeah.
did we know in Thailand Ramayana was called as Ramakin? There was
Not,
no
yeah.
way. Yeah, that was not even in our minds. When we saw all of these plays that China was putting up on and their traditions, we thought it was something about their war or something about their kings. But at no capacity did we think that it was one of the branches of Ramayana that they were talking and the parts that they understood or they related to. It is not the
Mm.
exact thing, but the parts that they understood.
Right.
Like, for example, as we said
Mm.
last time, certain lands like Thailand, where they respect kinship,
Mm.
Rama played the role of a king there.
Right.
And lands where there are lands where they believe that Ravana is their ancestor. So they
Uh-huh.
pray to Ravana and celebrate with him for the sorrows that he had to go through in his life or the struggles he had to go through. Or in Nepal in itself celebrates Sita as the protagonist of that story. So every country or every land absorbed this story in the sense that it made sense to them. So this questions the fact that a folklore or an inhabitation or adaptation of a story is much easier than
Mm.
conquering.
That's true. Yeah, stories travel far, and they also used to put such important things in stories, which are like basic hygiene habits or what to eat, what not to eat, or when to eat, when not to eat, sort of a thing, so that people have something to go by instead of just, I don't know, going at it. Don't
Right,
just go at it. If you do it this way, you'll be better, your
right.
health will be better. And they put all of those elements into the hymns and the stories, and that's so intelligent of them, honestly,
Yeah,
because they figured out that this is how it's going to stick. Otherwise, there's no way. There's no
right.
way if I just preach and just give statements, no one's gonna
Yeah.
stick to it. Yeah.
It's the freedom of letting that religion, that location people interpret it their own way. And I feel that is why Buddhism is such a big deal
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
It's just, what do you understand from Hinduism? This is the part you understand. Okay, very nice. Now start your own religion. Perfectly
Right.
okay. But at the core, all of us are doing the same thing. We're all thankful.
Mm. But are we thankful anymore? Is that the point of religion now?
uh, Now it's superiority. And that is lost somewhere. It's not like that can't be pointed out at a singular religion.
It's
It is
not.
lost in general. Because, see, most of the research that we have done in most of these religions and trying to understand this religion,
Mm.
we listen to this term called pre colonialism and
Pre-colonialism.
post colonialism. So, let's take up the country Philippines. Okay.
Mm. Right.
And that country and India have very little trade route. They had one
True.
king or two kings who traded.
Mm.
And in this trade route, some architectural nuances have moved. So
Mm.
some of their temples have similar architecture compared to us,
Mm.
but that is it. But they have so many Sanskrit words. Like they call their devatas as Daivata.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they have Ramayana's version of it. Not exactly Ramayana. We can't say that it is exact Ramayana, but they have a version of Ramayana called Damagan.
Uh-huh.
And it is very interesting. Their own mythology is Tagology. And all of this was very alive. Okay. It was part of their day to day, which they term as pre-colonialist religion.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And
So
post-colonialism is just what? Missionaries and
yes. So they have a
mm,
story where there were Spanish missionaries wwho came in and
mm,
who destroyed like a large part of their temples. Like the stories that we have of a certain group coming into India and destroying
yeah, Muhammad
temples.
Ghazni, yeah.
Right. So they have a story of Spanish missionaries coming in and destroying their temples as well.
Ah.
And in their history, in their mythology, they have something very similar to Nagas. How
Mm,
serpents are gods for us, they also have that. But they're called different things in their folklores.
right.
And when you think about it like that, that there was very little connection, very little communication, but they still are so similar. When you can talk to them, just talk to them and see from where their ancestors are rooted out of. You'll see so many similarities.
So what did colonialism do to that other than like destroying temples? What did it do to the land or the people in general? Because if I were to assume, I would say that it did something similar that happened in our country, right? We didn't have the concept of last names or the guy being the head of the
Mm,
family and anything like that. We were very fluid.
mm,
The family systems were very fluid, and the British were confused. Ki, why is it like this? I don't understand. So I
mm,
will impose a system that is the head of the family is the guy, and he has the surname that everyone has to take on.
mm,
Right. So they might have did something similar to that as well, right? To those people and to people all around the world, really. The colonialism had a very big impact on it. Other than the religion part of it or the cultural part of it, there was a lot of economic impact as well. They were
mm.
plundering the countries that they were colonizing and calling themselves superior. And well, I don't know. I just have a very I have a bone to pick with those people.
Yeah. But see, the colonialism you understand, or I understand, or we are angry with
Mm,
is pretty new. Because the question here that we need to ask is if we, as Hindus who have survived all of that
mm.
and are still trying and thriving in our own way in our different organizations, we are trying and thriving and surviving. How come so many countries or so many religions that we are aware of, like Native American religions, Egyptian religions, Mayan religions, and Japanese religions, and all of these that we are aware of have similar ideologies? So, if you look at it as a geographical sense, you look at it as Southern East Asia, and
Mm,
then you look at it as America, South America, North America, and North Africa. So the
mm.
question then comes, what was the rest of the country doing? Rest of the world doing?
They
What
were
about North Asia? What about Europe? What about Southern Africa?
what were they doing? That's a good question.
No, apparently they have same ideologies of animism.
Oh,
They have exactly the same ideologies. There is an entire tribe there called Simi. Apparently, I could be saying the word wrong, but they
where
have a
was this
tribe
tribe?
called Simi in Europe, in
Oh,
Northern Asia, where there were like multiple tribes that followed the same ideologies of praying to gods, of believing in the cosmos, of counting stars, of believing that there is a larger power out there and we are not the centric of it. And humans are very small in comparison to the larger world,
right,
larger
right.
universe. And That translated later on because for the longest time they were plundered so much that the story became very monolinguistic, and it became that human is the center of everything, human is the
Mm.
superior, and
Mm.
everything else is beneath a human.
Right, we are the best.
Right. And apparently, those tribes suffered so much that they were hunted down singularly, killed for thinking of anything apart from that.
Who were the people who were hunting these people down?
So imagine this in a scientific sense, okay? Maybe, just maybe, I'm just putting a speculation out there. Maybe the entire world was at that point where all of us believed in the universe, the stars, when all of us were counting, but
Mm.
all of them were stamped upon.
Oh, we are the only, I mean,
We
sorry.
survived that fight.
Yeah, yeah. Why? What is it because of the Himalayas? Why?
maybe maybe the distance between us and these other locations that were being monetized at that point was large, and
Mm.
transport was not that evident yet. Maybe the fight didn't reach us yet and we had more time, because if we talk about this in One Piece's sense,
Mm.
by the time the fight reached Ohara, there were enough archaeologists out there and scientists out there who were digging into the past already.
Right.
So it still survived the time. The story still survived the time. But we don't know what happened before Ohara.
Correct.
In the same way, if we do a parallel, Nalanda University was lost because it stored so much information, and that was the first thing that was burned down.
Right, right. Centralization of knowledge. It's easier to destroy when there's like one point of failure, you know?
Correct.
Mm.
Correct. So when we talk about it like that, because the simplest of the examples, right, Divya, where we talk about tattoos in general, when I was researching tattoos as a topic or as an
Mm.
idea, because my first mind went with anytime you think about an ancient religion or tribe or somebody who has been shunned, you think about a certain three-dot tattoo or four-dot
Right.
tattoo or something. So I just thought maybe there was a connection there. And apparently there is. It's just that nobody spoke to each other about it. All religions, all tribes had tattoos that they marked, which acted like passports of theirs to gods.
Oh.
Of it was just their representation of saying, "See, we are people who live in the northern areas, and
Hmm.
we believe that these kind of plants and these kind of gods are our gods, and
Mm.
this is my tattoo as a representation for it." And everywhere in the world, there are these tattoos
Right.
that are assumed by us by saying that if we die tomorrow, our god will identify us based on this stamp that we have,
It's so interesting.
isn't it?
Yeah. And back then there was no like tech sciencey like needles that we have today that made the tattoos, right? They did it very
Pakshapottu.
brutally.
Yeah.
I
My
I
favorite word.
how on earth did everyone agree to that? I don't know. That's interesting though. Yeah. And they were just so proud of their not proud, I guess. They were happy and they wanted to show that they were part of something
Correct.
in their own way. Like I don't know these days what do we have? Do we have an equivalent of that? I guess we are just so
Flamboyant.
yeah, we're just so mixed
Yeah.
we are such a big mix of everything that I honestly cannot identify with a single thing as this is my identity. It's just a very big mix of things. Yeah.
Right.
And when you say tattoos were all around the world, maybe the thing that comes to my mind is calendars.
Mm,
Like we have this calendar which starts on Ugadi as the
mm,
first day, and it has this like mid of the month day, which
mm.
is, and then we have Amavasya, which is the end of the month, and
Right.
then the month starts again. It's a moon-based
Lunar
calendar,
calendar. Right.
right? And when I say lunar calendar, I can think of other Asian countries also that have the same
Right. Right.
thing going on with them. They have a Lunar New Year, which is probably around the same time as our Ugadi
Yes.
stuff.
True.
Yeah. I guess that was the easiest thing to follow, like the moon, because it changed shape, right? So it was easier
Right.
to tell. that, oh, this is one cycle. The sun looks almost same every day. How can you tell? So I guess that's why they relied on the stars and the moon to tell them at what point they are. And
You know,
that's so interesting.
on because there is a large part of the Egyptian storyline also that concentrates on the moon cycle.
I
Their
thought
primary god
Egyptians
was
were
Ra.
solar, no?
Yeah, yeah, their primary god is Ra,
Uh-huh.
but their calculations are still the moon.
Again, yeah, because moon was easy.
Right,
Moon was predictable. Moon comes and it's like if it's a half moon, you're one fourth way
right,
into the month. It's easy. It's you can tell. I guess that's the basis behind the moon calendars, and even the Mayans had the lunar one, right?
right, right,
Right.
right.
But the Mayan also people also had this concept of eras, like
Mm,
not just like monthly stuff, but also like a set of years that becomes one era.
right.
Right, and that's what our 2012 fear, not I don't know what's the word, fear.
Doomsday fear.
Pitchy is based out of was that the Mayan calendar ends there. So they were like the world is going to end in 2012, which didn't happen. We are 14 years beyond that point. And we also have something like that, right? In Hinduism, we have the yugas.
Right.
And so at the end of yuga, there is some evil that has to be eradicated, and there is a savior that comes and does that job for us, which is what who usually the Vishnu avatars
Kalki.
is, right? And yeah, right now we are in Kali Yugam,
Right,
which is why they say people are like plundering and being bad and all of that. But
right.
weren't humans always like this?
Oh, the idea of Yugam is it's not like the Yugam started 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's a millennia, right? It's
Yeah, so it was, yeah, since the plundering started, Yugam started.
oh,
So,
very convenient.
yeah,
Okay.
that is how we do it.
Ah,
No, but if
interesting.
you talk about it like that, about Yuga division and time division and things like that, we
Mm,
should also talk about the fact that every time a calendar stops, we should, again, pulling ourselves away from the idea of auspicious
mm.
and calculating it as the superstitious thing. If we pull back, it's just positions of stars that they calculated as calendars, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And whatever they could see, and till the limit that they could calculate with the paper and pen version that they had, they wrote it
Mm.
down. Does that mean it's the end of the world? But
No, I don't
it
think they were thinking about the end of the world at that point. Come on. They were just
no,
trying
but
to.
if we say that also, I mean, all religions have this concept, and if you see the similarity again, crazy similarity. All these ancient religions have this concept of the world or globe or earth will sink into the cosmic ocean.
Yeah, we will be. Our sun will become a red star and it will become a giant that will swallow us at some point. Yeah, very
Yeah,
scientific. Yes.
are we rediscovering black hole right now that was already discovered?
Yeah, how I wonder how they knew they didn't have the Hubble telescope back then. So
No,
how
how
did
do you know that they didn't have? Is my question. They must have had, and it was
oh yeah.
lost.
I mean, if Pushpak Viman is part of a story, why
Correct.
not a telescope?
Correct. It was always
Yeah.
part of the story. It was always there. I mean, the only thing that survived the test of time are the folklores.
Yeah,
Lucky for
yeah.
us, the folklore survived. But how can we determine that it was never there?
Yeah, how do we know they were not scientifically advanced? Even like the first thing that comes to my mind is Indus Valley civilization.
Right.
Like they had such amazing cities that they built, which was so organized, built for floods, built against and they had like these grid-like blocks that we have right now in the modern society, and their drainages flowed from below the were underground drainages back then, like back when, like then
Mhm.
they had all of that, and we don't know what perished and what. These are all the things that we can see based on the ruins,
Right.
right?
Right.
We don't know if they maybe if some, I don't know, texts survived, maybe we would know what kind of sciencey things that they had invented as well. We only know about the infrastructure
Right.
things and the physical things that remained, right? And maybe, yeah, maybe they knew all of that, and we are just finding out again. And after a millennia, all of this will be forgotten, and they'll find out again. Who knows?
Yeah, we could be playing catch up, because in our sense of scientific advancement right now,
Mm.
maybe we're actually the
Behind.
fallen back era. Yeah. There could be a possibility that if and just if we didn't lose all that history,
Yeah.
we could be talking to aliens today.
Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe aliens were already there.
Yeah,
And
and they were
they,
just fed up
they
like this makes no sense.
yeah. We don't. I mean, the dear listener, we are not just trying to speculate, but think about it. Why not? Why do you think ancient people were not as advanced as we are right now?
I
And
mean, think about this beautiful idea that Egypt has, right? And
uh,
that is extremely different to the rest of the religions and how they celebrated there. And almost every part of this world was doing the same thing with death. They were giving it back to nature.
hmm,
But what Egypt did was completely different, and that was because of the geological constraints, because of it being a desert or whatever. But
hmm,
they mummified their bodies. They stored their
yes.
bodies. They purified the bodies in their sense. And then they weighed hearts, which is not what all of us did. But by core, the idea was so similar. When they say that they were weighing hearts, they were saying, based on all the things that happened to you in your life,
Hmm.
is your heart at a balance?
Yeah.
Did it reach its balance of both?
Good
Did
and
you do
bad.
the right things? Yeah. Were you balanced in your morality? And if you were, and if the way scale is equal, then you reach the field of open freedom. Your sense of heaven is where you'll reach. If it is not, you'll be part of the tormented souls,
Hmm.
which
So
is the
it's
same idea,
basically,
right?
yeah, basically
Yeah.
same that if you have regrets, then you'll be here. So don't have regrets. Egypt, and their concept of death. I guess the concept of death or all these customs and rituals and everything, maybe they started because everyone wanted to know what happens after. Like, do I just drop dead and it's like gone? That's scary for them.
Mm.
And so they made rules around it. Like the Egyptians were like, weighing the heart and mummifying people was their thing. Our thing is all of this rituals and burning the dead body and giving it back to earth and spreading the ashes is our kind of a thing. And the people do different things around the world, but at the end of the day, we are all just scared of the inevitable that we know is
Right.
going to happen. But we just want to make sure that we are not forgotten. And
Mm.
maybe that's where
The driving force.
yeah, maybe that's where the funeral concepts come from.
Mm.
Like, we have this yearly tradition of offering things to our ancestors who have passed away as a way of remembering them. So humans just don't want to be forgotten that easily, maybe. Yeah, and I really like that they were focused on the main things of life back then, which is like life, death, all the things in between, relationships. Now it feels like we have kind of detached from.
It's more on the sense of when civilizations were collective
Hmm.
and grew together, they valued more codependency and more of the fact that us as a community needs to survive rather than I as a human being needs to survive. So the idea what I mean here is if
Mm.
you have a good crop,
Yes,
then the village has food.
correct.
So if something happens to your crop, all of us will pitch in together to ensure that you're okay. We'll
Oh,
distribute the responsibility across. If there is a drought that season, we will ensure that as a village, we have things stored and your
correct.
family alone doesn't suffer.
Right.
And the ideas of, for example, if we talk about ideas like, let's go back to the Philippine Odisha comparison itself, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where when you talk about pre-colonial Philippine combinations, and when they talk about their devatas and prominent artifacts and all of that, all they are saying is this is our blend of what makes sense to us, and we would like to survive in this way. This makes sense to our region. So if our
Mm.
region is an island region surrounded by oceans and has no way of communicating with any other land, this is how we survive. And as a community, we will thrive through it. I don't want to be an individual person who has no hope, who has no way of praying and no way of thanking nature, and I'll just be alone.
Mm.
That is not there. That idea is not there. The whole reason the concepts of religion came into existence was collectivism.
Correct, correct. As a group.
Yeah, because I mean, it is insane when you think about it, right? Where is India's Odisha? And where is Philippines by location and geography? And how do those two have similar architectural styles?
Um, someone traveled and someone went back and told that this is what I saw when I traveled.
So
That
at the end of
is,
the day, immigration saved the world.
it's not immigration per se, it is more of a traveler thing, the
Mm,
explorer thing, I'd say.
mm,
Because though that's what we have records of
mm.
history right now. Some random person from China or from Europe came to India and they observed all these things and they went back and wrote in their diary that this is what India is like, this is what India has, and no one in India was bothering to document all that. But those are the records that we have. So maybe something similar happened over there too, but we just don't have the record of it, you know.
Correct.
Yeah, because it was a lot of time. The world didn't start in the last 200 years. So it was there for millions of years before that. So there must have been someone or something that caused that. And that's just
If
normal. Or maybe some people from Odisha migrated to Philippines. Who knows?
true, 100% true. But how would we explain the Mayan sculptures and the Egyptian sculpture similarities? The pyramid structures that both of
Mm,
them follow, or
mm.
the I know I'm saying this word wrong, but I'll still say it. Planix in Mexico, if I'm not wrong. And
Lanix?
yeah, so that is like
What's the spelling?
Palenque. I am for sure that I'm saying that wrong. Okay. 100%. So there are these
Oh,
parts in Mexico which have
uh-huh.
these cities called cities of gods.
Oh, yeah, 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 I know what you mean. Yeah, it's coming to
The
my mind now.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Mayan structures, the pyramid structures that
Mm,
grow up, but
mm,
they're not like it's not a triangle at the top. It's a Mayan structure with a temple at the top. And they all built it in such a way where the city of God itself
mm,
was just multiple temples to different gods. And
mm,
for them, gods is an idea called sky, earth,
mm.
and fire. Are you finding similarities?
But,
And nobody
bro, those are
traveled.
the elements of life, you know.
Exactly. Nobody traveled from India, Southern East Asia to Mexico. Or there was no travel between Egypt to Mexico recorded.
Yeah, but I think, okay, let's come back to pyramids, okay?
Yeah.
I think they built pyramids everywhere because pyramid is the most stable structure. Yeah, they just figured the math out. Someone figured it out sooner, someone figured it out later. I don't think you'd have to go and tell everyone that pyramid is the solid structure. They would have figured out
Mm,
through iterations.
mm,
And those are very ancient structures that lasted. And maybe
mm.
they lasted because they are pyramids. Maybe they
Correct.
built other things too.
True.
And and coming back to the fire, earth elements and the worship of those elements, those are the elements of life.
Correct.
Panchabhutalu, as we say in
Right.
our religion, those are the elements of life for everyone. And I don't think it would be so diabolical that people all around the world were like, oh, these are the things that we need to survive.
Mm,
So these are the things that we will be grateful for, and these are the things we will worship.
mm.
Hmm. And that's
And
what I think. Yeah.
agreed. Completely agreed. Right. What I'm trying to say is there was no trade route here. People didn't travel from one place to another with an idea. So you can't say the idea originated in one place.
Yeah, it was all over.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, if I'm pulling a parallel here again, the Shandora and Skypiea arc of One Piece.
Mm.
where you see Mayan structures in the drawing.
Yes, yes.
And I know that we can't say ever that Oda based it on a real country, but he did. But he spoke about an indigenous tribe fighting for their sense
Mm.
and their land and their
Mm.
god, where there was another system, an entire different system that wanted to take over their land
Yeah, yeah.
and called themselves or himself the god.
Yes.
And that is so similar to our story right now. It's just that they put it in one singular arc so you could see it, but the history itself has been spread out for 500, 600 years. So you
Mm.
couldn't see that change happen.
I didn't get you quite like.
So in that one arc or one season of Skypiea,
Mm.
you can see that there is a group of brainwashed people who believe
Yes.
that Enel is God, and if they say
Yes.
anything bad regarding Enel, they will be killed.
Yes, that's correct.
But then there is this indigenous tribe that are very aware that Enel is not God and
Mm.
that can trash them down and
Mm.
that needs their land again. And the land itself is a golden city of gold where all their gods were held. And it
Correct.
was structured as a Mayan structure. So when you think about it as a broader spectrum, wouldn't you call that colonialism?
It is. The One Piece is fully 100% how people are colonized and how people are destroyed. The world government is basically the British Empire.
Uh, what I'm saying is because it was put in one season,
Mm, mm.
you could see that change or that evil in that one season. But when it
Ah,
happens over 500 to 600 years, spread
you
across for
can't
thousands of years,
tell.
yeah,
It's
you
just
can't
change of
tell.
mindset then.
Correct,
It's a shift. It's not exactly someone is forcing these things on you. After
correct.
100 years, it's not forced, it's just a part of your life. Again, coming back to our own colonization, there
Yeah,
are so many things that we take it as like obvious. This is what it must have been all the time. Like back in the day, we had the Gurukul system. Where
mm,
is it now? We don't have it. We have the school system that we are running right now, which is brought in by the British missionaries.
mm.
Right. So I completely agree with you that if it's over a very extended period of time, you cannot tell what's you and what's brought in by someone else anymore.
Right. We need to look at this as two things, okay?
Mm.
One, the fact that everything that an ancient civilization ran makes sense to them. So they ran it. Okay. So by that I mean certain things that are documented by an ancient civilization
Mm.
made sense at that time frame. Okay.
Correct. Mm.
Right now we are not as advanced as they were.
We're not.
So we are still catching up to that stability,
Yeah.
to that brilliance. So the question comes when someone says you're not doing this was not the way it was supposed to happen. Are you saying in your history or in the ancient history of humans?
Mm.
Okay, so when you say that the school system in comparison to Gurukuls is a lost art form,
Mm.
completely agreed. But were Gurukuls always there? What was the system of knowledge transfer back then?
Mouth
Gurukul
to
is
mouth.
our present past. Was it always the past, is what I mean. You know that
Mm.
confusion where you sit in saying, I am not saying Hinduism is a superior religion. That is very stupid of me if I say that.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Mm.
am not going to say that. But the present structure of Hinduism or the present people who follow Hinduism are also very different to the way it was actually written.
Mm.
So, which part of Hinduism are we breaking when we say certain things? But
And
for
I
the
think
longest time, no, like before
mm.
British came or during the British time, I don't exactly know how to place it. Gurukul system was very privatized to a certain group of people in the society.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It
So,
was
yeah,
very closed
which,
off. And we as females at least should be grateful to the replacement of that system because
yes,
we could finally go to school in the colonial system. So I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm glad it came because I'm glad that
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I think everything changes over time, really,
mm,
because the caste system started as a way of, telling that these people are this occupation people.
correct,
To now, it is this horrendous system of division that people have created between themselves and for no reason at all, because every family has a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, three different professions. So basically, three different castes going by the ancient system. But now it's not that. Now it is
Correct.
it's something associated with the family name, and then there are, of course, let's not talk about those killings that people do just because they are
Yeah.
doing intercaste marriages and all that stuff. So things change over time, and have they changed in a good way or a bad way? Is a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if we talk about ancient human religions,
Hmm.
I would consider them to be the most advanced ones
They are. Yes.
that we are just dreaming to be. All we are doing is that we hope to be that.
Mm,
And
we don't, I think. And that's a problem that I have with the society is we don't hope to be a part of the nature. At least not a majority of us. It's a
mm,
very small group of people who want to work with the nature rather than destroying it.
mm, mm, mm.
And because the narrative that has spread across, which is that humans are superior and we are the intelligent beings and all of that bullshit, most of the human beings do feel that they are the most superior. Um, I mean, the prime example of that is someone in my family told me that the human male is the only male on species on this planet, and everything else is female because that's how they want to feel superior.
Oh God, what?
So, no, I don't think no one, not a lot of us are moving towards being one with the nature and, wanting
Uh,
to be how the ancient religions were teaching people to be. I think we are all stuck in this very superiority complex that we need to get out of. If we don't, I guess someday we will destroy this planet.
there is this mantra in
Mm,
Hinduism
mm,
where it used to be sung, and I heard it a couple of times. It's just something that people, when they wake up,
mm,
I've heard few older generation people sing it once in a while. Before they put their feet on land, they sing it. It's a mantra. It's just like a two-line
mm,
sloka,
mm.
and they sing it. And that sloka is literally just them saying, "I'm really sorry,
For
Bhudevi,
stepping on
for
you.
stepping on you,
Mm,
and thank you for letting me do it."
mm,
The same mantra in a different language, word to word, same meaning in a different language, exists in the indigenous tribes
mm.
in the North American region. Almost all tribes have the same mantra.
Okay.
That just comes to tell you at how docile humans knew they were in front of nature, in front of the
Mm,
ecosystem, or how small of a part they were in the
mm.
entire ecosystem.
Right. They were humble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were okay being humble
Yeah. Yeah.
because they understood the fact that they were equal to the being that they are beside you.
Correct. And they are also part of the food chain.
Right.
They are not someone who's off of it.
Correct. So
Right.
there is this ritual that we do when we start building houses, right? Bhudevi,
Bhustapana.
yes. So when you do that, also, that's what you're saying. You're saying, I'm really sorry that I'm digging, and I hope you'll forgive me for it.
Mm,
And I will try and ensure that the balance still remains in this ecosystem, even though I'm digging you. And that
mm,
instills a sense of give back, you know, that I have to maintain this balance. I am not the only person who is here. I'm responsible for everything around me. And I think
mm.
that is like a primary idea of the Bhagavad Gita also, where it says you're responsible for every action that you take. There are multiple things that will happen because of your action. So be very mindful and very thankful for everything.
Right.
And why was that lost over time? What gave you the feeling that you can lose it? And I will come back to this one specific time period where I was saying that Northern Asia and Europe shifted from from having all of these multiple tribes to
Mm,
becoming one practice.
right. Mm,
And in that practice, it is very evidently practice that human is the top of the food chain. So everything
yeah.
around it is there to serve humans.
Correct.
Are we still not there? Even though we say we're all from different religions, aren't we all
Mm,
believing the same thing?
I guess is the question. How did we go from being beings of gratitude, full of gratitude, to
I
these?
mean, A real life example of that is United States of America, if you ask me, because you remember when we were in Buffalo,
Mm,
almost every area or every land or everything around Buffalo, like around Letchworth or the drive up to Buffalo, also, all of them
mm,
had indigenous names, but no
right,
stories that are told out of those names.
right.
And people who can tell those stories are no more alive. And they would, if you right now, if you see anything with regards to indigenous stories, it's very easily wiped off as superstition or as
Correct.
witchcraft
Mm.
or as vampires, like many books have written. But is it really them who were backward, or were you?
I think it is the colonizing people who
Yeah,
were behind, and they couldn't see. They did the same thing in India that they did in America
right.
because they didn't understand people in India and how their things work. They imposed systems on India
Mm,
that worked for them.
mm,
They did the same thing here. They couldn't understand all these diverse, amazing indigenous groups that were living in their own sectors, their own
mm,
worlds, and having their own thing going on. But
mm.
they didn't like that, and they wanted the resources, so they wanted to plunder them. And because they couldn't comprehend what these people's culture was, they destroyed it.
Correct.
They destroyed
Correct.
the land and the culture.
You remember when I came to Seattle and
Mm,
you and I went to the Space Needle,
right.
and
Yeah.
they had an indigenous tribe who were dancing there, and they have a totem there
Correct. Correct.
present,
Mm,
and it wasn't very well maintained totem.
it's
They didn't,
not.
yeah, they didn't respect it as much. But the fact is that totem itself presented the fact that they celebrated everything, like rocks and plants
Mm,
and everything, and they
mm,
believed that everything possessed a spirit, and you should respect everything. And that is very
right.
close to me as a Hindu, okay? That is what I do on a day to day basis. Like, we have a God for every small being to the largest being, be it living, non living, whatever. There is
We
a God
do.
for it for us. And it is the same in indigenous tribes. And
Mm,
indigenous tribes, you can't just say it is one tribe. They have so
it's
many
not.
tribes,
Mm,
yeah, that are divided and spoken about in so many lands, which is all lost right now. I mean, what did we achieve by losing such gratitude to the world? Wouldn't it be a better place if that gratitude existed? It's a very simple ideology, right? The entire idea of drums for indigenous people was
mm.
the sound, or it acted as the heartbeat of earth, apparently.
That's so
That is the
nice. That's like Om for us.
that is like Damarukam for us.
Oh yeah, yeah. But we.
Damarukam is literally the sound of creation and destruction for us.
Mm,
And drums for them represents them. You lost an entire, I mean, you very conveniently chose the instrument to exist but destroyed the people who made it.
yeah. It's like keeping behind the filtered, watered down entertainment version of something grand and
Mm.
amazing.
You have such beautiful ideologies, beautiful reasons to exist and actually have a purpose in your life in such simple form. My purpose in life is to ensure balance to my society. My purpose in life is to ensure my ecosystem is at balance, and you lost it somewhere. Right now, you're again going around and looking for purpose in life in a mountain by
Yes.
traveling after you've destroyed everything.
I feel like back then they knew more about the meaning of life than we do right now with all
Mm,
the knowledge of the world that we have at
mm,
our fingertips. We still don't know the meaning of the world. And they were also searching for meaning and everything, but I guess they were closer to it than us.
mm.
That's what I believe, at least. Yeah.
You know what? Throughout the research, what was so interesting to me, it was
Mm.
insanely amazing. It amazed me so much. Was the North American tribes in Alaska believe in Vastu?
Really?
Yeah, they have temples for directions.
Who are these people? Wait.
The tribes in North America's Alaskan region have
Mm.
Vastu in their tradition, have
Oh,
ideas of Northeast and East and all of that, which was again part of our religion. And
Mm.
they have the speculation that the possible way that during the same time the same idea was passed down in both lands, because
Mm-hmm.
there was a point that there was a land bridge, Bain land bridge, I'm forgetting the exact name here, or I'm not saying the name right, it could be the same word. There was a land bridge that happened below glacier, before the glacial event of breaking of lands,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point all of us were one land by history, and we all
Oh,
shared the same thoughts. So ancestors passed that down to the Alaskan tribes. So Vastu was part of their day to day as well, as part of their day to day as well.
that's interesting because I mean, even the Asian people have something similar, which is a version of Vastu, which is called Feng Shui, I
Uh-huh.
think. And Feng Shui is also basically like how do you like center the energy in your home, or how do you, let it flow instead of keeping
Mm,
it stuck in one place. So
mm,
it talks about the same thing, like windows and
mm.
doors, and how you should put things around them so that you're not blocking, energy, and letting it flow of how do
Right.
you arrange the place more than how do you build it. So we are a little bit more like where how do
The
you build it, what,
architectural sense of it,
yeah,
right.
they are like within the home that's already there.
Mm.
How do you arrange things so that we harmonize with the world and balance the flow of energy?
The birth of
And
interior designing.
well, yeah, yeah. So they have this thing called chi, which
Mm,
is basically the force of energy that they think that flows through everything. And so some things like feng shui, they were trying to balance it out. Balancing, I mean, the yin yang,
mm,
something like that. They're trying to achieve the balance between dark and light and something like that. And
mm,
kind of the same, similar, I guess you could say, energy. Because for us also, it's like when we're building homes, we are like, we should face the east, and it should be like things should flow through. So at least my home back in India is built like there's the main door, and through the main door, things, if let's say window is coming in,
mm,
it would go into the one of the bedroom doors, and it would go out of the window that was right behind
mm.
the bedroom
Cross
door.
ventilation.
Right. And
Mm,
so we just named it energy, but again, ventilation.
mm.
They were very advanced. I don't know how to put it. They knew better than you, us.
The
I
problem,
don't want to
I
exclude
feel
myself.
right now when you say that this is stereotypical or this is this, it's not the idea, I feel. It's more about the people who preached it right now.
Yeah, yeah. They what they made it.
Yeah, they make
Mm.
it sound very silly and it is very enforced right now.
Mm.
And it is more like if you don't do this, then that's it. Evil. You
Manchidi
remember
Kadu.
the you remember the story of our feet washing thing.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Satya Harish Chandra, the amazing king with zero flaws, didn't wash the heel of his feet one day, and for that he suffered the troubles of the entire world for that reason.
the stories that had no logic but instilled so much fear into me.
I
It
think that
made
was the
no
point of those
sense.
stories. It was to instill fear in you. I don't think that there was any other grand point in it.
But they progressed, right? Like eventually they became more of you have to do this, you shouldn't have to do, you shouldn't do this because that's it, because I said so.
You know, the funny thing is like talking about the Satya Harishchandra story only. The thing that we picked up from that is enforced on us is wash your feet properly. Instead, it should be he lived a amazing, truthful life. He didn't lie. He was generous. Those
I
are the things that should be
we
enforced,
would
man.
have questioned what was the point in being nice. All he had to do was wash his feet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh
You're
God.
focusing on the wrong part of the story.
Why the Satyanarayana Vratam story also? God, if you
Ah,
don't eat the prasad,
you're gone. If you don't listen to the five stories, you are gonna be cursed for next three generations. You're doomed.
the stories itself make sense again. But the conclusion of the story or the moral of the story, why? Why
Yeah.
would you do that to a child?
You don't know. It's so forced instead of, again, curiosity is crushed,
Yeah.
and you're just supposed to know. You're just supposed to follow. And if you ask why, it's not okay. And I
Yeah.
think that's what was allowed a lot more in prehistoric, not prehistoric, I guess, but Vedic times.
Mm.
Let's put it that way. That questioning was okay. Like, oh, why is this like this? Or, oh, why is this like that?
Freedom of thought was normal.
Yeah,
It was not something you fought for anymore. It was just,
exactly.
we need these things, so we will do this thing. Why is that wrong? This is what it makes sense to us.
Mm,
I feel like the house is like this, so this is happening, and it makes sense to me. So let's just document this and call it Vastu, call it architecture,
yeah.
and we are good. Good for us.
But
Mm.
the people who are listening, please let us know what do you think about
Are we
this
too
topic.
radical?
Yeah, are we too much? Are we just pushing the blame onto someone else instead of taking it on ourselves to fix it? Let us know in the comments. And if you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify or Apple
How
Podcast,
can we fix it?
how can we
Tell us
fix?
your ideas. How can we fix it?
Please, please. And please also subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah, we do that now.
Yeah.
We say things like that right now.
Yeah, we do. Yes. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review on what you think about our podcast as well on any of the platforms. Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't think we figured this out yet,
Not even a little bit.
but we tried, and hopefully, we ain't alone.
This is the Matilda mindset.
A space where we let ourselves be a little delusional.
If you've been thinking about this too, we'd love to hear it.
Well, we'll see you next time.